I don't think I spent too much time preparing also, because I was like, हाँ 6 call है तो मतलब I'll get at least 1 or 2 of them. Finance तो करना नहीं है because the smart people are doing that. So I'll do marketing. It seems interesting. It's not that difficult. I think this was the first time when Idea Cellular said that, hey, we will not come for the final placements. So yeah, that was me and another guy, and like that's what the placement committee was telling, that hey dude, this company never does this, so what did you guys go and do over there? I mean, you pick any of these products, whether it's a Flipkart or an Instagram or anything, there are like hundreds of teams, or at least like 30-40 different teams that are working to ship that one product that you see at the end of it. If anyone in Flipkart is throwing out a business plan saying 100 crores a month by 2 years, it gets thrown out of the window. Okay, it's not audacious enough.
Who should definitely not become a product manager?
See, if intelligence is all you will bring to the table, then yeah, like that'll get you in, but that won't help you succeed.
Let's start off with your early life. You've not always been in India. And obviously, Touseef is a staunch Hyderabadi, has a strong Hyderabadi accent, loves the city. But you also spend time in the Middle East. So why don't you tell us about your early years?
Yeah, so it's true. I grew up in the Middle East, mostly in Saudi Arabia, right? Yeah, it was a very different environment from this. It was very closed, obviously. And even when I grew up, like for me, the only thing was get good marks, and that is the barometer of success, right? If you're getting good marks, everything is great. It doesn't matter if you're taking part in debates or taking part in any elocutions or something. So yeah, I used to do that.
But
So-
was there a culture of learning and academics in your household? I think your dad was also an engineer, right? Or
No, he wasn't. He had studied till 12th and did a bachelor's in commerce. There wasn't a culture of that much education. In fact, in my entire extended family, it was most like, get good marks and get into engineering, and any engineering degree is enough. And that's what, everyone was working towards. So yeah, that's what I was mostly doing. Like when I studied there, it was just about, okay, come home from school, study, get good marks, and then that's what I did for the first 10 years, and then moved back to Hyderabad. And then I basically followed the regular path, right? That like get into engineering. And honestly, like I think a lot of people over here are much more serious about their careers than I was. And Doshi alluded to that also. Uh, for me, it was like I didn't have any aspiration or any clear direction of what I wanted to do, and I just followed the crowd mostly. So even back in school, I recognized that if you do well in school, then everyone just thinks that you are smart, and that's what I thought. Okay, chalo theek hai, this is good. This is what we should try and do. And then I realized that most of the people are going into engineering. So I was like, okay, let me give the local entrance test. And
you never tried for the IITs or?
nahi, so that's interesting. So I did my 11th and 12th in Hyderabad. It's called intermediate. So, and this was in those typical, I mean, there it's Sri Chaitanya, Narayana and all. I don't know if anyone knows that. So they just basically hammer you into just studying. So those guys actually told me, why don't you go into this IIT entrance or even AIEEE, etc. And they actually pushed me into one of those because they were like, hey, your marks are good. And then I went there and realized that, hey, these guys are really smart and I'm not at the top over here. And I really need to work hard. So, but why should I? Because in the other class I was better. I left that. So I actually went back and I was like, hey, I don't want to do this.
You think it was a mistake though?
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, when I sit, it is a mistake. There's a lot of, I mean, I don't think it's just laziness. I think it's also like fear of probably not doing really well, right? So I don't think I had any perseverance or grit or resilience at that point of time. Things were easy, and I was like, hey, if it's easy, why do I need to make it tough? A lot of people don't even get into engineering. So if I can get into engineering using the regular route, why do I need to, stress to get into IITs and all? So yeah, that's what I did. I told them, nay, I don't want to do this. And I went back, and then even honestly, I did still end up giving AIEEE and the like other entrance tests, etc. So I cracked Pilani, NIT, and all. But even then, like, and coming back to family, like the opinion I had gotten was, you know what, food is not good in Pilani. So and like, I mean, I was like 20-year-old, and like I'm a total foodie, he knows. So I was like, no, I can't leave my, like, chicken biryani and all. So
I mean, it sounds that he's making a story, but it's actually true. Imagine he said no to Bits Pilani because he felt the food there won't be good. Also, a level of, I guess, innocence slash ignorance, but well.
hi, innocence, ignorance, and like, yeah, actually, ignorance is the big part because I really didn't see the big deal. So I mean,
Do you think it's also because you didn't want to be away from your family a lot?
no, actually, I was away from my family. They were still in the Middle East, so it wasn't that.
Okay.
It's just
The food.
food, maybe a little bit of like discomfort also, in the sense that, hey, I'm in this city, I'm anyways away from family, why do I need to change gears again, right? So and even there I chose the college which is probably close to where I stay, because like I wanted a bike, and if I choose a college which is very far from home, then I wouldn't get to ride it. So I chose something which was in like Banjara Hills. It's one of the like popular places over there, and with a lot of good food joints, etc. So yeah, that was my decision criteria, unfortunately. And yeah, that led to me doing engineering, and there also it was the same thing. Ke, haan, marks late jao, and then
This is the reason why we have, InsideIIM.com and all the other InsideCampus.com, because this, we want to kind of now ensure people don't take decisions like this. Like you, I'm
yeah.
sure people would spend like hours and hours discussing, even when they buy like a mobile phone these days. But, Banjara Hills, food joints, bike, तो हैदराबाद में कर लेते. Who wants to go to Bits Pilani? Like, I just think about the incredulity of the decision making. But anyway, go ahead, Touseef.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of examples of what you shouldn't do from from what I'm going to say. But see, there was still one thing that I think has helped me, which is I was a little curious, and I was really interested in just like challenging myself intellectually a little. Right. So even in engineering, like I had a problem of lack of exposure. Like no one told me that, there are these things like IITs, and I didn't have enough curiosity to try and figure this out on my own. No one told me that there are these things called IIMs also. So like during engineering, I was just bored. Ke, theek hai, I go to classes and then I come back. It's not really that difficult, especially considering like the college that I was going to. So then there was this friend of mine, and I asked him, hey, what are you doing? And then he was like, hey, I'm giving this entrance exam. I was like, what is this about? And he told there's this thing called CAT, and then I started reading up, and I was like, you know what? Like this place that he goes to is 20-25 minutes away from where I stay. And then there were a bunch of friends who were going. And I was like, okay, this is good. Like after college, I can go over there and then spend some time. And I just found CAT interesting because the logical reasoning data, I don't know if it's changed now, but LRDI, quant and all, I just found that interesting. So just out of curiosity, I used to sort of solve that. And yeah, like it'll be a little bit of like, I don't know, I hope it doesn't come across as arrogance, but it wasn't tough to clear the exam for me. So I was a fresher. I did clear it. And like just the fact that I cleared exam became like a deal in my college also. Okay, I don't think people realize what that percentile meant, but it was just like, hey, there is this exam for IIMs that, this percentile this guy got, and got calls from IIMs, and also actually when Doshi was telling that this next step is very critical, I hope someone had told it to me then, because I was like, yeah, wow, great. I didn't need to work this hard, and it's okay. I didn't go to BITS Pilani. I'm getting into these IIMs, and yeah, I was not prepared at all, because I found this part interesting, which is giving the CAT exam. The part afterwards, which is just developing yourself in a rounded manner, building skill sets, learning about what is happening around the world, etc. I had done none of that. And like I remember, I don't think I spent too much time preparing also, because I was like, हाँ 6 call है तो मतलब I'll get at least 1 or 2 of them. So, yeah, I remember honestly, like I had given a lot of these exams just because there was interest, right? So CAT wasn't the only one I gave. I gave Snap, bolte the na usko. हाँ, I gave Snap, I gave ZAT. Most of these I cleared, and then a little bit of arrogance also started to kick in, because I was like, अच्छा ठीक है, then why do I? Because I got a call from SIBM, SEM, HRD, and all, and I remember I had gone to the bus stop to board the bus to Bangalore. That time they didn't used to do interviews in Hyderabad. I don't know if that's changed. And then I was like, hey, I'm not feeling it. Like, I don't want to go. It's a little boring. So I came back home. So, like, that actually is a true story, unfortunately. And then my mom asked, "Ke, what happened?" I was like, "Nahi, I was just not feeling good." And then she was like, "Okay, okay, you did a good job, because like if you're not feeling good, you shouldn't go." So yeah, that was the level of I think, like, I don't know, arrogance or whatever. Because I was like, "Huh, I have these calls. Why do I even need to pay attention to all of this?" Right? So then yeah, the interviews happened, and then sort of reality hit, because I started to realize that hey, there is this group of people who actually are so much smarter than I am, and I had never been exposed to that level of competition or whatever you call it. And like yeah, I really like yeah didn't do well at all. Like I actually felt bad for the panelists, because I was like I probably wasted an hour of their time, and these are like 3 senior people sitting over there spending time, and what they must be thinking ke like कैसे लोग आ जाते हैं or whatever. But yeah, I don't know what happened. Somehow the questions they asked in Indore and Kozhikode and all were interesting. They asked me about sports in Indore, and I was like, okay, yeah. I don't know. It was just happenstance, and by luck, I sort of got through Indore and then Kozhikode. Yeah.
But I just want to bring about one learning here, which is around the fact that he took the cat because a friend suggested that he do that. This happens with a lot of us at different points in our life. Very important who you are friends with. I mean, cannot emphasize this more, right? Like, for example, if his friend would have said, "कि यार अच्छा bore हो रहा है तो let's go gamble somewhere or let's go party somewhere." I'm just thinking life would have been potentially different. I'm not saying he would have done it necessarily, but just the importance of knowing who you're spending time with, company, is so critical. So, Touseef, I'm assuming that like the interview experience you're saying was poor. Like, did you know after every interview that yeah, I have done a very bad job everywhere?
Yeah, I think I was smart enough to figure that out. Yeah, like I'm a like huge Manchester United fan. Okay, so I think it was Calcutta, or I don't remember which interview it was, and this was the question with which it started, and I was like, oh wow, great, I'll smash it. So, and then they asked. Like they asked me a question about who scored yesterday, and I answered that, and then they asked me another question about United, which I wasn't able to answer, and then just mentally I spiraled from there, because I was like, okay, if I can't answer about like Manchester United, then yeah, this isn't happening. And by the end, I myself was like, bus karo, matlab, it's fine, let's end it gracefully and like get out of there. So yeah, I sort of knew after Ahmedabad and Calcutta for sure. Actually, no, Ahmedabad, I was a little hopeful. Calcutta, Lucknow, I sort of knew after that okay, there is no way they're get like if they take me after this interview, then like something seriously wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience similar to that during my Kozhikode interview where they asked me a few questions and I couldn't answer them very well. And the panelists actually asked for my ID card, saying that I want to check whether you are actually the candidate who is here. They're not making up this story. It's actually true. So yeah, I mean, what happens is that with a lot of really smart people under pressure, when you ask them questions, when there is a lot at stake, you end up making really stupid mistakes, like not being able to answer questions about Manchester United.
And I think it's not just smartness. I've realized this over the years that the more prepared you are, the more confident you are. So I hadn't prepared that much because I didn't realize it was that difficult. Like till then, everything was smooth sailing. So I didn't realize like the level of competition that exists in India. Honestly.
Okay, I think that was very helpful, Tosif. Why don't you tell us about what happened after you enter campus? Because
Yeah.
did now that you had realization that you were with smart people, etc., what did you start doing differently?
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't do a lot things differently because after that, like obviously there was a little bit of shock ke Ahmedabad, Calcutta nahi hua, but then I was like, yeah, it's okay. I cracked Indore and Kozhikode, and it's not that bad because like these people are also smart, so I got in and it's fine. Whatever I was doing is working. I don't need to really introspect too much and
And did you choose Indore because the biryani was better there, or like what was the his reasoning?
no, so like Kozhikode was waitlist, so it cleared later. So uh, that was the choice. May have chosen Kozhikode, I don't know, because the food there might have been better. Like the thing that hit me over there is again like see during these interviews and all, I just got like partial exposure to people, right? So when I got into the campus, I realized that these are people a might be smarter than me, or I don't know. Smartness is like 19, मतलब 19-20 का मामला है. It's close, but these are people who definitely are hungrier than me, who have more resilience, who have worked harder, who are taking this much more seriously. In fact, I remember this guy telling me, like, I can't believe you got into IIM Indore or something like that. He was brash and arrogant that time. Maybe he's mellowed down a little now, but it's okay. You need that brashness to start your own company. But yeah, like, he wasn't completely wrong, also, to be honest, because I didn't take things seriously. Like, I remember the first few set of tests, etc., that I'd given. I realized that I'm in the bottom 50 percentile of the batch, which had never happened in the past. I didn't take it as a alarming signal or something. I was like, okay, in the top 5 colleges in the country, I am in the bottom 50 percentile of the batch. I just need to get into the top 50 percentile. I'm still better than half of the people over here. And yeah, the batch gets placed, right. So it's okay. I won't get into a BCG or a McKinsey. I'll get something. So I realized, acha, finance to karna nahi hai because the smart people are doing that. So I'll do marketing. It seems interesting. It's not that difficult. So yeah, that's that is what I was sort of doing. So honestly, there also, like, I think this will be a recurring pattern till maybe like 4 or 5 years into my career, that I didn't take things very seriously. I didn't introspect a lot. I wasn't very meaningful and focused into what I was trying to do.
Any stories or memorable uh, days that you can tell us from campus, or even days when you were really maybe unhappy? I don't know, whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah, so there was this mutual friend of ours called Kunal. He's also from Hyderabad. So, like, we were very close, this guy and us. And, like, I actually used to sort of look up to him because he was sort of clear with what he wanted to do in life, and his clarity led him to marketing, which I was sort of interested towards. And I mean, there's a hometown connection and all also. So, yeah, I think it was somewhere in our first year that he had just gone to the village next to our college and had an accident and he passed away. So yeah, that was like a like serious shock, because till then you're thinking that, you know what, I have this great career ahead of me. I'll make so much money. I'll take care of my family, my parents, and everyone. And in that moment, you realize that yeah, life is unpredictable, and uh, yeah, a lot of dreams can can go in a jiffy. And yeah, I think that, like, for me, that had a serious personal, mark, because I realized that like this is a gift that has been given, not just life, but this opportunity also, and I need to take it a little more seriously. So yeah, there are a lot of happy moments, but like for some reason, this is the moment that I like always remember. Unfortunately,
It's one of those things that brings everyone who was part of that together. I mean, it, in many ways, I would say that him passing away was like a gift for the last gift that he gave us as a friend was that he made us more close, right? And obviously all these realizations about life. So anyway, moving on to um, lighter things. How was your internship experience? Because this year, for example, people are struggling to get internships. We were on campus. Our internship process started in October 2009, which was about one and a half, about a year into the financial crisis. It took about at least 18 months for things to recover after that. So our internship times were quite difficult, and we had only a batch of 240 people. But again, across all the IIMs, internships were very hard to come by. Companies weren't hiring in the big numbers. So, Touseef, where did you intern and how did you get that opportunity?
yeah. So see, at least for the first 1.5 year into college, I was in this phase where I was like, you know what, I've made it, and whatever happens will happen. So even internship, I wasn't that serious, because I was like, yeah, there will be enough companies that will come and all. And then everyone around me for some reason was interested in like Unilever and PNG, etc. I think people were just mesmerized by all the ads that they see, and they're like, hey, one day I can, make something like that. So I was also like, you know what, yeah, I'll do it. And generally they prefer freshers, so I just thought my chances are, anyways really good. So I think a bunch of these came, and then I didn't clear, and that is when like a little bit of panic started to set in, and then I tried to take it a little seriously, etc. I cleared idea, and
Vodafone Idea, which is now Vodafone
हाँ
Idea.
now Vodafone Idea. That time it was Idea Cellular, and I then again I was like, अच्छा ठीक है, मतलब internship तो मिल गया, so things will be fine, and but I think this was like I hate Bombay, okay, because of this internship experience, because this was like a 3 month or 2.5 month, whatever, internship period where I had to go to Bombay. Obviously, you're interning, you don't have a lot of money, and like the rents there were like crazy, so you have to stay very far from office,
This
and
is 2010 he's talking about.
yeah, so that time
Probably
only it was
become
crazy.
probably become 5x now. But anyway, go ahead.
So, I mean, you have to stay very far, and like I've not been exposed to a lot of public transport. Honestly, like in the Middle East, also I wasn't doing a lot of public transport, and in Hyderabad, I was taking my bike to college. So, and then now it was like, hey, you have to go work, which is the first time ever I was working, and you have to find a place for yourself, which is again the first time I was doing it. I found something with some people. Honestly, like in that 2.5 months, for some reason or the other, we got kicked from the place twice, because like no one wants to give place for interns, right? Because you're renting it out for 2.5 months. When so I think they just like gave it, and then in 2 weeks they found someone who was willing to stay for a longer period of time, and they were like, "Jao." And this happened twice. So and the travel is like crazy, because first of all the humidity there is insane, and these trains, like I remember the first time I went, and I stood there and I kept standing thinking, hey, there will be one train which will be like, where, where there'll be space and I can go. And I realized, okay, yeah, this doesn't happen. But like all of this in itself was so stressful for me. I mean, I didn't focus too much on the internship, and I didn't do a good job in summary. I think this was the first time when Idea Cellular said that, hey, we will not come for the final placements. So yeah, that was me and another guy, and like that's what the placement committee was telling, that, hey, dude, this company never does this. So what did you guys go and do over there? So yeah, that was another like sort of screw up over there.
Which means that obviously you kind of shot yourself in the foot for final placements as well.
Yeah, like I don't think I can show this interview to my mom or anyone this way.
But if you shot yourself in the foot, you know, how was your final,
Yeah,
placement experience, and were you kind of insecure and yeah.
yeah. So I was a little because I mean, like I didn't clear Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta. That time I was a little like jolted, and this was the next time. And this time I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to, be a little better prepared for finals. So I did take them seriously, and so that time there used to be this process where laterals were hired. There was a batch that comes for laterals, which are mostly people with work ex, and then the regular companies sort of come. And there was this like consulting company that had come for laterals, and then they decided to open for freshers. And I was like, ठीक है, मतलब, let's go and give it a try, because at least if nothing, I'll get some experience. Like that time, I was in that mode, hey, I need interview practice. But I cleared it. So that again, like, set this thing in, हाँ, मतलब, this wasn't that tough. So yeah, this is not what I wanted to do. In all of this, I was like, you know what, I want to do marketing, but
But you ended up doing IT consulting.
yeah, I ended up getting into IT consulting, and I was like, okay, we'll see. At least there's a job. Uh, yeah, I hated IT consulting. I mean, not the IT part, the consulting part, honestly, because I really like. I think by that time I was starting to get a little serious. So I realized that like, see, maybe there are a lot of happy consultants out there. So like, this is just my personal opinion that me, fresh out of a campus, giving advice to people who have spent like years in that industry on how to think strategically about massive bets that they want to take, I think I was nowhere near qualified for that. And I was just surprised they were even asking like all of this advice from me. And the second thing is like, whatever, there is some pride in the work that you do, right? So I genuinely put effort in building that work, and like for the first time maybe in my life, and giving that input to them, and most of the time it was thrown away. And I was like, yeah, you know what, this is not fulfilling. I need to do something else. I need to do something that I can say I have built for my own, and I've learned from the failures. And also that time I started to get into this mindset that, you know what, I need to learn. I obviously am not good enough.
So, what would you say was a turning point in your career? Because, I mean, from whatever you heard so far, of course, getting into an IIM was kind of easy for you because the exam seemed easy to you. But obviously, the series of mishaps with interviews, right from
Yeah.
the IIM interviews to internship to final placement, where you ended up getting in, but into a company that you didn't really want to get into, doing something that you probably didn't want to do. And given that all your life you wanted to do marketing, you have never done marketing after that, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
never have.
what was the turning point in your career where, I mean, if somebody looks at your resume now, or if you looks at your LinkedIn profile, you are a director at Flipkart with like a great body of work. You worked at Zynga previously as well. It would seem as if you are like a really rich, smart man who's doing very well in life. But clearly, there was something that turned towards this. And what happened then? How did it
Yeah.
happen?
I think it happened after Wipro. See, the one good thing I did at that point of time was like, which is probably thing, I need to do, like, probably I should have learned earlier, was when I realized it was not working, I got out of it at the right time. Like within a year I left. I joined a startup, but then I made a mistake again, and from there on, I think the story gets. I believe it gets better. So I joined this startup that was in edtech, funded by Sequoia, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, like this is where I'll, ground
But
up.
why did you join that startup? In the sense that was it just a desperation to get out of, the company you were working in, or was something exciting about that startup that interested you?
So, I mean, the first part was obviously there, but then this wasn't the only option that move to. EdTech seemed interesting for me, honestly. Like, I think it's fulfilling to some level that, you are doing something that is impacting people's lives, etc. And this was like, I think 2012, 13. A lot of startups, etc., were coming and growing and impacting a lot of people's lives. And I also felt that, I tried this corporate consulting gig that isn't working. Why not try something where you actually, get your hands dirty, where you are doing a lot of stuff? Because in a startup, I don't think there are standardized roles. Maybe now there are, then there weren't, right? So I did marketing, I did sales, I did content development for a bit, and then it's like, so basically the thing is, we were in professional certifications, and this industry is like fragmented. There are a few big players, but there are a lot of these small players.
This is Edusis.
Edusis, yeah.
It's still existing.
Multiple pivots they've done, but they haven't. Like, there's a mistake in Edusis also that was there. I'll talk about that. But see, the thing we realized was there are a lot of these professional trainers who are not able to compete against these bigger players because there are a lot of value-added services in terms of this online content that the bigger players were giving, and we realized that, you know what, we should be the back end for these guys. So a SaaS platform that gives them white labeled solutions. And we started working on that, and I realized that, a lot of engineering work is going. They need someone to, sort of help decide what to build, etc. And then I went to my CEO and told, you know what, I want to do this. And yeah, I mean, he said no. So that was also, I mean, in hindsight, I'm really happy he said no. I didn't know at that point that is sort of like a, product manager role. But the fact that he said no told me two or three things, right? One, I don't think he had belief that I would be able to do it, or I hadn't showcased enough, capability or built enough trust that, he trusts me to be able to do it. So that was actually the point when I decided, okay, now I need to, start getting a little serious, because the other thing that was happening in Edison is a lot of smart people were leaving. And to me, that is like a big indicator of, where the company is going. When a lot of the smart people start leaving, maybe things aren't going that well. That combined with this told me that, first of all, by like serendipity, I figured out this is what I want to do, at least for the foreseeable future. And I realized, okay, I need to find something, where I can learn this craft and then build on top of it. So that is when I started getting a little serious, and I told, you know what, I need to build a career in product. That for some reason I got clarity, and I started looking for opportunities. And that is probably the toughest I had prepared for, like the most serious I had prepared for anything. Because generally when you interview, you sort of do a spray and pray, but I didn't do that. I had shortlisted companies. I figured out where I wanted to go. And Zynga was like, I actually spent, I think, maybe 3-4 weeks seriously preparing for the interview, playing all of their games, understanding how product management in gaming, etc., happens. And yeah, I think they really value people who understand data well, who play games. I think it was just like a lot of culture fit. So that then onwards, I started getting a little more serious.
You said there was a mistake at Edusis that you made. What was that mistake?
Staying too long. So I'll tell you, see, this typically happens because there's a lot of peer pressure also, right? I left the first company in a year, and I was like, if I leave this, and that in hindsight is not a mistake. The mistake is staying in the second one for too long, when in hindsight, I felt that I was not getting challenged. So if you're not getting challenged intellectually, if you are feeling comfortable, etc., I don't think that you are really learning. That is probably the time that you, figure out that you need to move. So I probably should have moved maybe 2 years earlier than I ended up doing.
Again, I mean, I have never worked in companies, so I can't relate to this a lot. But learning for a lot of people who are in careers that maybe it's better to switch once you know that something is not working, because we often give advice that it'll look bad on your CV.
That is the reason I stayed for long enough, because everyone's like, it'll look bad. But honestly, like now I'm on the other side. I like hire people, etc., from campuses or even lateral, and I don't care about how many switches, etc., they've done. I care more about the candidate and like their input metrics rather than what output they have delivered in the past. So. That was a mistake, but then on I started getting serious that like I realized a couple of things, right? So my peer group is very important. So if I am with like, I mean, you rise or fall to the level of your surroundings, right? So if people around me are smart and I'm learning and I'm getting challenged, then I am going to stick around. And the day I feel that what I've probably are not getting enough challenge is when I'll switch. And if that is 1 year, that is 1 year. If that is, I mean, 10 years, it's 10 years.
So in Zynga, what is it that you were doing? Also, I think Zynga was what about 8-9 years back, right? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, 8 9 years back. Yeah.
so at that time, I think product management had not become that mainstream in India. It was probably in very small circles of Bangalore. Now, of course, I mean we kind of onboard about 40 students every quarter, just teaching product management to people across India. So at that point of time, when you joined Zynga, what was the role and what was the work that you were doing, and why was it so exciting?
Yeah. See, it was exciting to me in a lot of ways. First, it was gaming. So I found that part of it interesting. But I never saw the behind the hood of gamings, right? Gaming. Of like, how do you build games that, engage people? Like, I think culturally, I probably settled there better than any other like company I've ever settled in because like the culture there itself is just very different that you work and then all of a sudden your boss will come and be like chalo ek game FIFA khelte hain and then you go and play for like 15 20 minutes and then get back to work etc. There was a lot of like the fundamentals of product management I sort of learned over there, like focusing on data, talking to customers, understanding what customers want. Like you ship a lot of things and you think it works and then you talk to the customers and realize ke ha matlab what they're perceiving is completely like I remember I was working on this game called Farmville 2 and
Farmville 2.
yeah, it was a web-based game, so yeah, ancient for you guys. But our TG was mostly like women, 40 to 55-year-old, etc., sitting in that Bible Belt in the US, so Midwest sort of states, right? And we were talking to one of this gamer, and I was like, "Why do you like Farmville 2?" And she was like, "It is soothing for me." Like, what do you mean it is soothing? Like I used to work on a like I used to stay in my childhood, on a farm, and like so basically we realized that she didn't really like the game. She liked the background music in the game, and she always kept the game on for the background music. Until then, I was like, why do we even have these sounds? Because like it's not really part of the game mechanics. So all of these experiences that you add on top of the core product which I felt were experiences on top of the core product were actually part of the product. So yeah, a lot of interesting like learnings etc. from there. And I spent roughly 2 years there, and I started building these small features etc. And then I built one like I mean in Zynga they called it Bold Beat, which is one of the biggest bets of the year. So like I got to work on that for 8 9 months and built it, and it actually worked. And then I was like, okay, what next? Because Bold Beat was the biggest thing that I had to do, and I did that, and I ran PNL for a year. So they're like product managers are the like effectively CEOs is what people say, but in Zynga that is true because you take PNL calls also over there. But I realized that okay, the next 2 years if I spend over here is going to be more of the same. So that is when then I think I timed that well, and then I said, "Okay, you know what? Okay, I've learned great things here, but now I need to get challenged more."
So it was only the challenge. Like, how much has money impacted your decision making in switches?
It hasn't. So I think when I joined Zynga, it was at a pay cut, I think. And I mean, I got a hike from Zynga to Flipkart, but honestly, that wasn't a factor. See, what I realized was in Zynga, the games are actually built in the US, and then there is a life cycle for the game, right? So there is this growth stage, and then there is a maintenance and decline stage. It is in the middle of the maintenance stage where the games are shipped to India. So I'm not really building new experiences. I'm just trying to keep the game running long enough to get money out of it. And the other thing I realized was uh, there are a lot of big tech companies that are coming up which have very complex products. Now in Zynga, there is a team for a game, and I know there are these 30 people, and we are one team. Whereas, I mean, you pick any of these products, whether it's a Flipkart or an Instagram or anything, there are like hundreds of teams, or at least like 30, 40 different teams that are working to ship that one product that you see at the end of it. And there is so much complexity in terms of how people work together, what is the scale of operations, how many visits, etc., that you get, and how do you optimize for that, which I mean, sitting in Zynga, I wasn't getting exposure to. So around that time, I started actually like, you know, like maybe learning from my mistakes also, but understanding what is happening out there, uh, understanding and also realizing that hey, there may be bigger challenges. So yeah, Flipkart was the opportunity that came by, and I took that.
And you've been in Flipkart now for what, 8 years?
More than 6 years, but Flipkart has been amazing for me. Uh, I, I I think it's mostly because like the people are like just crazy smart. And I remember the first year when I joined, I was I mean, IC individual contributor PM is what we call them. And my entire first year, I was like, hey, these engineers are so much smarter than me. If I can gain their trust and respect, then I have done a good job. Like that was a personal challenge for me. It wasn't about ye project banayenge or amazing hoga and all. Those are all outputs. For me, it was like if I am able to gain respect of these people who I know are so smart, then maybe I'm doing something good. And then there will be a challenge after that. So that was my first year. And actually, for the last 5 years, I've been trying to build 0 to 1 businesses within Flipkart. So I've actually not for the past 5 years, I've not worked on the core Flipkart app. So yeah, I've built like 3, 4 businesses. Most of them have failed. The current one is the one that sort of stuck.
So, tell us about your favorite time at Flipkart. What is it that you built that you're most proud of?
Yeah. I remember you'd ask like what are the things you're proud of, but if I look back like for these whatever 10, 12 years, right? Like yeah, there are like 3, 4 memories that sort of stand out. So there was this product called Too Good that we had built. I'll just talk about what it is. So you see, in e-commerce, right? Mobiles is the most penetrated industry. So like 40 to 50% of mobiles are sold online, right? But if you look at mobile sales in India, a lot of second-hand mobile sales happen offline because the typical mobile is traded 2, 3 times, and most of this second-hand happens offline. So we were like, hey, why not build an online business for that? So that is what we started with, and then we tried building that, and I'm actually really proud of what we did going into it. It didn't work out. To me, that doesn't really matter. I think the inputs were right. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But like getting a chance at that point of time to build a business that could have been a few $1 billion if it had actually worked, I really sort of relish. And then
But,
after,
but what was it that you think was so good about your input while towards
see
building that?
I think that after Zynga, like in Zynga, I didn't spend too much time on the customer, right? Because I was like, okay, these are people sitting somewhere in the US playing my game. How can I spend that much time with them? But when selling refurbished mobiles, we got to spend time with what I like Bharat basically, right? Not you guys. So that is the first time I was like, hey, I'm building for a customer group who I don't at all resonate with, right? So how important is value, how important is warranty of a mobile for them, how are they able to understand what we are shipping, how can we understand their use cases better and ship, and even looking at competition, because the the scale is just different, right? So if I were in a Educes, I would be like, hey, let's gain 1%, 2% of the market share. And like, yeah, if I'm doing 10 crores a month, great. But if I throw, or if anyone in Flipkart is throwing out a business plan saying 100 crores a month by 2 years, it gets thrown out of the window. Okay, it's not audacious enough. So the fact that you got to build for a new customer segment, understand their needs, etc. I realized that, hey, there is so much I absolutely do not know and need to learn. And yeah, that has been like a great learning experience, because it's not just about shipping a product, like shipping it with the complexity of within an org, right? See, cat and all prepare you for IQ, or test your IQ, honestly, right? But when you get in and you are working, you realize that you are actually spending, especially in product management, you are spending a lot of time with people, understanding what motivates people, how you can influence them, how you work with them, and build trust and collaboration is so important in the success of a product than just IQ. Yes, you have to get your customer need right, you have to understand the strategy, etc. But to be able to work in a team and navigate people and work through tough times, that I think has been a great learning experience.
You said you had 3, 4 such examples. So after two good, what happened?
Yeah. So I mean, like I remember, I think like 3, 4 years back, there was a mail that came saying, "Okay, hey, we're still getting requests on Too Good. Is this officially shut down and all?" And I had to reply and say, "Yes, please shut it." Like that really hurt. So that was because it was also the first like business that we're trying to do that didn't scale. The next failures didn't hurt as much, because then I realized that it's not just related to what I have to do. Generally, startups have a high failure ratio. So we tried doing video commerce, because like obviously it worked in China, it worked in US. So people look at influencer videos and then buy products, and we will enable that. That also didn't scale. There's a lot of learning on what works in China doesn't necessarily work in India. But we saw that there were startups taking those bets and all. I think there is also a realization that maybe if you are this big a company and you see startups doing well, you wait till one of them reaches PMF before you build your own product, rather than take all of these bets, because you don't know which one will sort of work. We tried social commerce also, group buying, etc. Those also didn't work. And then for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, my team has been working on this app called Shopsy. So now you can ask the question, because if I am hoping at least one.
How many people have used?
Okay, awesome. So great. So yeah, that is the app me and my team have been building for the last 2.5 years. So this is again for the same target group, that we are not the Amazons and Flipkart that you guys will be buying on. We are going to serve the lower affluent crowd in India. And yeah, that has like been really fulfilling from an output perspective. Okay, matlab the years of inputs that have gone in have finally started to work. The thing I'm actually proud of is not the fact that Shopsy worked. It's the team that we've been able to build. So most of the team I've hired, and I think like they're just smarter than me, but are also more driven than me, and hopefully won't make the same mistakes that I had made. So yeah.
Since you built a team, my question is, what are the attributes of a good product manager?
I think somewhere down the line, right, cracking product management has become a science, like cracking cat. Like, I mean, you know what you have to do to sort of crack the cat exam. I'm saying, not about the interviews, etc. Whereas to me, in an ideal state, product management is also an art. So it's not just you do this problem solving, product thinking, those sort of interviews that people typically prepare for. Read 2 books, you realize that there are these formulas and these models that you apply to every problem and get through. But I feel like, see, honestly, it is a very tough job. Like I was talking about the guy who came on campus and was talking about, like, I think he was a brand manager at Lux, who had come and told, like, his entire pitch, I remember, was that, hey, I've just come from Bombay. There was this photo shoot I had to do, or this video I had to shoot. I think that was that Lux ad where there was Shah Rukh Khan and like 5 actresses, etc. He was just talking about that, and I was like, people were like really mesmerized by it. I think this is happening with product management also, where it's like, "Arey, you are the CEO of the product, and you define the strategy, and dunya badal jayegi." But it it actually is tough and very frustrating because you have a strategy, but you are not the only stakeholder, right? There is business finance who decides how much you can spend. There is engineering, there is design. How do you take people along? How do you listen to counter opinions, etc.? Do you have the emotional quotient to be able to deal with that? Do you have the perseverance and resilience to be able to handle failures, etc.? Is something we absolutely do not assess right now. Do you have creativity to think out of the box? Also, isn't assessed in any of this. I feel like those inputs in the long term matter more for how the person grows, whether in your company or another. That's okay, because our job is also to build great product managers. I think that matters more than the IQ part that PS and PT or the likes test out. So I mean, I'm also trying to change that, at least within my team, to see, like, I don't know the formula to check that, and I also know it cannot be a formula, because the moment it becomes a formula, then like everyone starts to build interviews around it. But yeah, that I think.
Okay, let me ask the question in a different way. Who should definitely not become a product manager?
See, if intelligence is all you will bring to the table, then yeah, like that'll get you in, but that won't help you succeed. Like I remember I've seen a lot of product managers who are really really smart, and then they face difficulties not related to how they are thinking about the problem, but how people are reacting to it, or like whether the problem actually gets to market or not, right? And then they just lose it because they're like, hey, what is this? Or they think about it and they launch a product and it fails, and they cannot handle that failure despite us telling, hey, that is okay. Because I have a lot of examples of failures, honestly, from my own career, right? But they can't handle that. They haven't seen it. Like honestly, people who have, like, see, if I get candidates who are not from great B schools, but are really good in interviews, right? I'm like, honestly, I fight for those candidates because I know they have gone through hardships to, like, see, they've, like, I know for a fact that they have faced, obstacles. Uh, Everyone will at some point of time. I think I'm grateful that I was able to face it earlier in life. I know I'm going to continue facing it, but I think now I have the emotional maturity, etc., to recognize that it is a failure. Also, have gratitude that I have faced that in the past and I will be able to overcome. People who have had like this resilience and hunger, these are things that will really, I don't think it's just necessary with product management, but I feel like that part will really hold people to be successful.
Awesome. Any suggestion slash advice for people who are in the audience before they enter business school? We have a few people who are going to probably go business school 2 years from now. But
Yeah.
given that, you know,
What
we
I
are
like
talking
it.
about MBA so much, any advice, suggestions?
So I think you had asked me, right? What do you like, or what do you think you could have done better about B school? So actually, my regret. I know I told you guys that I didn't take it seriously. I didn't prepare well. I didn't study too much. To me, like having spent 10, 12 years after MBA, that isn't the regret. Like my regret is that I didn't, go for student exchange. So yeah, see, I'll tell you. Like the point there is that. I didn't keep myself open to, exploring and experiencing different things. I think that builds a lot of like who you are. It shapes you as a person, etc. I did some short-term optimizations of, I don't even remember what the cost was, but we probably can now pay that off like very quickly, right? So in hindsight, it seems like I don't think I will get that time back to be like, hey, you know, go around, explore the world for this much time. So in general, uh, like, see, that is a great time for you to explore, learn about yourself, but also learn from the experiences of others. So learn from the peer group that you are going to interact with, build good friendships, just be open to exploring and learning, be curious in general, right? I think curiosity and like perseverance will hold you in great stead in the longer term. So like, honestly, that is what I definitely would have wanted to do.
Awesome. Opening up the floor for questions. What is your name?
Afreet.
Afri.
Afreet. So I work in the venture capital space. So we are in the early stage investing space, but more on the product sidelines. Have few questions. So first thing is you have been recruiting people for your team as well, and in terms of product roles, how do you see early stage founders who couldn't scale products or like the 0 to 1 journey, and then kind of see a safe haven for products, product management roles as a candidate over B school candidates?
Yeah, so one of the best PMs in my team is a failed founder. So, like for me, that like I actually resonate towards that, because see, what I focus on is, hey, what did you learn from that failure? Because founders, first of all, have great attitude. I feel, have a growth mindset, and have failed, so have learned from failure. So for me, like, it ticks all of this. Then it is about, can you clear the interview? Then like I would prefer that over candidate who hasn't faced failure.
Hi Touseef, I'm Madhav. I'm from Hyderabad as well. So I wanted to ask you, when you said some of your products have failed, what do you mean by failure? I mean, what if you held on to them for maybe 2 more years or 3 more years? Would they have become successful, or how do you take that decision of closing on the product?
Yeah. See, the tricky thing here is to be not emotional, because otherwise you can keep sticking onto products. There is a sunk cost fallacy at the end of the day. Actually, see, there are different failures. There's a business failure where beyond a point you're like, hey, it doesn't make sense to invest in all. The trickier part is product failure, because there is a feature that you have launched, which it is technically our call whether we want to, remove it or keep running it. You have to keep yourself a little detached emotionally while making that decision, and also keep customer central to it, and see, for the customer, is it adding value or is it adding unnecessarily complexity? And if it's the latter, then you have to take that call. It's tough. It is tougher because now I've sort of probably I am able to still do it, because I'm not necessarily myself building it, it's my PMs building it. The tougher job is how we deal with it with the PMs, because obviously if they're not emotionally invested, then I am a little uncertain ke bhai sahi hire kiya ya nahi. But then, like, how do we build the emotional maturity in them to be able to take that in stride and go ahead?
I hope that this time the clap is louder. You kind of heard him. A lot of you got and asked questions. A big round of applause for Touseef, please. Thanks, Touseef, for being so vulnerable, so authentic. Speaking your heart out on many things, and I hope that it was worth your while as well, meeting these guys. But yeah, a big thank you to you.
I mean, I hope it was worth their while, because they're spending time like so many people on a Saturday. And yeah, I hope you learn from my failures is the only thing I can say. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.